Good afternoon, traders. This is a live trade recap. I took 4 trades this morning during the pre-market. Right now it's 12:08 p.m., but these trades took place between 4 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. I just didn't get a chance to make a recap video. And I had 2 stocks on my watch list here, Admp and Naov. They're both from the Webull Top Gainer Screener, organized by volume. They're both the top 3 volume. Admp was number 1 as far as volume goes, and Naov was number 3. They're both low float stocks. Admp was a little bit above my threshold at around 92 million. Naov was 17.8 million. So they meet the criteria pretty well. Let's see. So now I'm just marking out the high from the previous session on both of these stocks. This one I already had in place. And that's my signal to look for an entry when the price has broken the previous high. Then I watch for a pullback to give me an entry. So that first happens here on Admp. So right here, this candle is about to break the high of this one, and that's where I want to enter. So the high of this candle is 254. I want 255, and then my stop loss is 247. So watch the price. There's 255. You saw me trigger my hotkeys. I get filled exactly where I want to at 255. And then I put in a line here to represent my stop loss. That way, I have a visual indicator. If something happens really quick here while I'm using my 2R calculator, that I can come back and exit the trade quickly. So here I'm using the 2R calculator to figure out my profit target, which is 271. Now I put in my limit order. Right there, 271. Then I did something that I don't normally do during the pre-market. I switched from this watch list page to the custom trade layout. And the reason I did that is because Webull has been glitchy the last few days, meaning that on the 1-minute chart, the price movement freezes. So the price of the stock continues to change. There's buying and selling going on. You can see that on the 5-minute chart. And then eventually what will happen is the 1-minute chart, the price will stop moving. I don't know if it does it here, but I just wanted to explain to you why I went from the watch list page to this page. Normally I would stay on the watch list page. That way if the other stock or stocks that I'm watching gives me an entry, I can take it and be in multiple trades at the same time, because that has proved profitable in the past and doable from the watch list page. Now, so I get stopped out there. You saw me cancel my order, and that way I can use my hotkeys to sell all. I did accidentally hit sell half, but it didn't really hurt me because there you see I sold half of my shares at 247, which is exactly where I wanted to get out. And then I realized it right away. I just kind of noticed the way it felt on the keyboard that I entered the keys, and I just hit sell half again, and the rest of the shares got sold at the same price. So it didn't really hurt me, except for cost me an extra 2 cents to sell another time. So that trade is over. I still think that was a good trade. As far as the entry and everything, it just failed, and that's going to happen. But it's still a successful trade, because if anytime that I either hit my 2R target or take my 1R stop loss, then I did everything that I can in my power to have a good trade. So that's it. So it's just unfortunate that that one was red. So now when I came back over to this watch list page, in the moment here I was feeling like, oh man, look what happened. I went to my trade page and then this thing took off and I missed the entry. Looking back, I still, if I would have taken this entry, I would have felt uneasy about it. And I'm not sure how I would have played it, because there's a lot of things that are bad about it. It just happened to go 2R very easily, but there's not a lot good going on with this setup, because here's 4 a.m. right here. So that's kind of the pre-market low. Obviously, it shot up through the previous session's high, came back all the way down past the low, which is a sign of weakness. I took a trade like that yesterday and it failed miserably, and that's going to be the case normally. Anytime the previous low is broken, that's a sign of weakness. If you've listened to other traders, they'll say you want to buy when you see higher lows and higher highs, right? So here is a low, a high, and then this is a lower low, right? Which eventually goes up to a higher high, but that's unusual. The wise trade to take is actually after the higher high and then a higher low. So although this thing went to 2R, this isn't really a good setup. This is a case of where a good setup actually worked. I mean, sorry, a bad setup actually worked. So, and if you do that enough times, you're gonna end up red overall, taking those weak setups, trying to see if, well, maybe this time it'll work. Okay, so now we are going to look at the next trade, which I believe is exactly the trade that I just talked about. Yes. So I did exactly what I just said I was going to do, wait for a higher low, which happened here, and then buy for the first candle to make a new high, which was this one right here. Now, this is still a pretty weird trade because this didn't give me much range for a stop loss and also profit target because of that. The one thing that's good about that is that your risk is low. So even if the trade fails, you're not risking much, you're not losing much, but you're also not going to gain much if it goes to 2R. But it met my criteria for taking an entry, so I did. And that's really the only thing you can do is just follow your trading plan and your strategy and keep doing what it says. And eventually in the long run, it should work out. But today it didn't. So this thing went, I canceled my 2R target order because this was chopping around a lot. It looked like it was going to stop me out. So my stop loss, I believe, was 165. And it kind of popped down there to 164, and that's when I hit my sell all. So I took 1 cent slippage, which isn't bad, but it's unfortunate. Another decent setup, really, that didn't work out. Trading has been tough this week, and last week it wasn't much better either. So now the danger there is that you start to second guess your plan and your strategy. But I have enough data now that I know in the long run my plan and my strategy do work as long as I follow them to the T. I have to follow them 100%. It looks like I took another entry here. 1 second. So yeah, I remember what happened here on Admp. I guess it was while I was in this trade. This thing made a new low. So, a low from this trend here. So the first trade was based off of a pullback here. And two things can happen when you do that is it could be a legitimate pullback and then the stock makes new highs and you hit your target and everything's great. Or this could be a fake out, which that happens sometimes, and that happened here. And then it continues to sell off and finds support and then reverses. So that's kind of what, I was looking at here. Like instead of this being A, B, C, and then the D somewhere around here, A, B, and C, and then the D move is over here. But I did miss this first entry, and I remember thinking like, oh man, I would have taken that entry. I missed it. So what I decided to do, because sometimes, you get your entry and these things chop around like this, and then eventually they pop up and they hit your target. That happens a lot. So I told myself that if it comes back down to where my entry was without hitting the stop, which would be below this candle, that I would try to get into the stock where I would have anyway. So that's what I did. It started to come back down here. I think I wanted 234 and I got 235, so not too bad. And then my stop loss was 257, it looks like. No, that's my target. Sorry. My stop loss was 224. Oh, I'm watching this one on the left, and I realized on Naov, this is my fourth trade here, is I took the next entry. So remember I took this entry here, which was kind of weird with that little, that very tight stop, which, there's a tendency to get stopped out when you have these really tight stops. So this was a kind of a bigger move, I guess, and I liked these double bottoms that gave me a nice range for stop loss. And once this high was broken, I decided to take my fourth entry. So far 2 trades have failed. I'm in a third one, and I took the fourth one. So I just want to bring that up because, I go by that kind of 3 strikes you're out rule, but I'm in the third trade. So and you could argue, maybe I shouldn't have taken this trade, but this trade isn't over yet, and I consider it a decent setup, so I went ahead and took the next decent setup that showed up. So this is now my fourth trade. And there's my profit target, 180, and my stop loss looks like it's 158 or 159. So now I've got both trades going at the same time, which is definitely doable from this watch list page. If you try to do that from your custom trade page and flip between the stocks on the watch list, it can be really tricky, and you could miss your entry or exit or target or whatever. So if I'm in more than one trade, I like to stay on this watch list page. So it looked, I was pretty happy with this entry, although this was going sideways and I would have liked it to pop up sooner, of course. But it looked like it was consolidating, and after this big run and consolidation, it's more likely to pop back up than it is to go down against me. It looks like this one is about to stop me out. Let's see. No, actually it moved around a bit more. So now I just switched time frames there just in case I had like a freezing on the 1 minute chart issue. I just put them both on the 5 minute chart. And then this NAOV stopped me out. I pulled up ATOS because it did pop up in the top 3 volume. But unfortunately, that is, basically I missed the move there. But there's no way I could have taken that trade anyway, because if it's not in the top 3 volume, I'm not allowed to trade it. And that's just a way of trying to increase the probability of me being in a stronger stock. So sometimes you're going to miss opportunities when you follow your strategy and your rules. But if you do that consistently, you're going to have more wins than losses. So you have to just let that stuff happen. All right, so I got stopped out there, and I took a little bit of slippage, I think maybe 1 cent on that one. And then I was doing some analysis, I guess, on this ATOS, but, at this point I knew I couldn't take any more trades. So I was just, I guess it was just while I'm like letting this thing play out, let me just see if this thing went 2R and all that kind of stuff. Which can be dangerous. When you start looking at other stocks and doing analysis, you could be teased into taking an entry, so that's not always a good idea. It's happened to me before. So now this thing doesn't look so hot anymore. After the consolidation, it's flushing down instead of going up. And you can see NAOV is shooting up a little bit there, but it's nowhere near where my profit target is. So, but I mean, it doesn't matter anyway because it hit my stop. So, all right. So finally, we get stopped out. This is long. It's almost 5 a.m. at this point. So I'm kind of tired, of being in trades, and I'm just looking to get put out of my misery at this point. I just had 3 failed trades. This is the 4th one. So that was 4 losses in a row. And like I said, I follow the 3 strikes you're out rule, but I was in the last 2 trades at the same time. So, I don't know if I did the right thing there. But I mean, obviously, if one of those trades won, of course, you would say, yeah, you did the right thing. Both of them lost. And I still think I did the right thing, because if you're following your plan and your strategy, you have a higher probability of winning the trades than losing them. So taking more trades to a point, is going to work out in your favor. But unfortunately today it just wasn't a good day. Again, I can bring up, what's the probability of my trades working out? I can't calculate that yet, but maybe after a year or something, that'll be an easy calculation to do and show. But let's say even if it's 75% of the time that my setups will work out, that 25% of the time that they won't work out, that can come up multiple times in a row. The best analogy is the coin toss. If flipping a coin has a 50% chance of coming up heads or tails, that doesn't mean that if you flip it once and it comes up heads, that the next time it's guaranteed to come up tails. That you could get 3, 4, 5 heads in a row before you flip a tail. So the probability on each flip is always 50%. there's always a 50% chance of it working out. So let's assume that my setup has a 75% chance of success. That means that on every single trade, there's always a 25% chance of failing, right? So there's always a chance that the trade will fail no matter what on every single trade. So sometimes that's going to happen, in multiple trades in a row. That happened today. And it also happened yesterday. I'm on kind of a losing streak here, and I'm going to make a video after this one about my kind of weekend review and where we are in the month, and talk about what's going on and what's going to happen next week. So look out for that, and I hope this video helps you, even though these were 4 losing trades. It really stinks, but you have to be careful. If you know that your plan works and your strategy works, don't let something like this make you start changing everything and looking for a new strategy. You really just have to stick to it and ride these rough waves until things get better. So, all right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Should be coming out either later today, or maybe I'll postpone it for tomorrow release, so you have something to watch on Saturday. And I'll see you then, and we'll also be back next week for more trading. Take care. Hope you guys are doing well, and hope you're having more luck than I am with the stock market.